Hey, it's your boy, Sergeant Hooked on Heroes, with another review for Avataro Sentai Donbrothers, this time episode 49. Um, I'm getting a little emotional now, honestly. Clearly, as we all know, time passes and things have to end, as does Sentai seasons. And I feel like for a lot of people, there's a similar cycle with Sentai seasons as there is in Doctor Who. If you don't know what Doctor Who, there's the whole thing where the Doctor regenerates, right? He doesn't really die, he just turns into the next actor, so they could be creative on who the next actor is and blah, blah, blah. And so there's always like this fun little meme timeline thing where they put a clock up and it says, at 12 o'clock, it says, a large amount of people, like majority of people or many people hate the new actor. And then it gets a little bit this way and it's like, yeah, I guess he did all right in that episode. I kind of like that. Then, you know what, actually, I'm really starting to dig this one to, I fell in love with them. Please don't go, oh God, no, why? And then goes back to hate again for the new one. Not that there's that many haters for Donbrothers. I've seen more overwhelming majority positivity towards it. But it's just interesting to think about, how we're sad now, but King Gojo's starting soon, and we still have Geets, and so it is sad. But it's been a really fun ride all the way through. This week's episode was pretty emotional and pretty, jarring in terms of what they're trying to do with the story, even with only one episode left. I'm assuming and hoping, praying, that we'll get more, side content stuff and extra specials and things just to kind of fill in a few more details. But if we didn't, I think I'd be happy with it on its own, too. So this week has basically a lot to do with Taro kind of interacting with everybody, trying to make sure everybody's got, their training in place, making sure they're as skilled as they can be, as strong as they can be, whatever. He's very proud of the team now united with the three Naoto. They are now Donbrothers. In the beginning, it's a fun little sequence. He has them all kind of number off or whatever, right? And gets to, Kijino, he's still kind of thinking about Miho and whatever. And it gets to Tsubasa, and as soon as he says his number, it shows Sonoe, and he's saying his. You see, because Sonone's actress is very short, you see her, the camera's not, all you can see the top of her head. She's walking past him to get closer to Tsubasa, because she has a thing for him, clearly, as we know. I think it's cute. I like it about her. And he, pushes her back, so she's not so close to him. But it's during this time that Sonoza and Haruka leave because Haruka says, hey, so I sent, my newest story, my little, small story thing to a publisher. They really like it. They want it to be a series. And you go, oh my God, I'm so proud of you. And I love their little interaction, their little friendship they've put together, they've garnered is amazing. How he's really proud of her, but also hard on her to be the best she can be as far as a mangaka. And she enjoys his support. So that part was really awesome. That was really, really cool. I really, really, really enjoyed that part of it. And they leave. And then pretty much everybody finds a reason to leave other than Jiro, Taro, and Sonoe, right? So they're all talking and everything. And Jiro shakes Sonoe's hand and says, hey, it's probably the first time I've really met you. My name is Jiro. You probably seem a little different from last time you met. And Sonoe says to himself, yeah, you do. Last time you kind of basically had split personalities. Now you seem more together. So they get attacked, of course, by the Dum-Dum, Naoto trio. And the Dum-Dums get their asses beat. Each one of our dudes right here transform and kick the shit out of them, even with Jiro swapping freely between the two forms. Do you think it's a missed opportunity for Jiro to get some a combined form of Dorgoku and Torbolt? But I'm mostly okay with it. I'll talk about it near the end with negatives. I'm not the biggest fan of the pacing with his storyline, but I do like some little extra sprinkles we get near the end about it. But anyway, so they kick their asses, and the trio, runs away, like little babies, like they do. But the big meteor part of this episode is Tsubasa brings Natsumi with him to meet up with Kijino, and that they want to talk. If you don't remember, last week we got the revelation that Natsumi remembers everything about the dream of herself as Miho, being married to Kijino, being his wife, being a beautician, blah, 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 blah. She remembers that whole life, that entire thing. So it seems though then, and definitely now, that she's really conflicted about what's going on. It was kind of like that thing where people talk about, that come out of comas, where they feel like they lived a whole life in that coma and now they woke up and it's not real, whatever it was, but they feel like it was because for in that coma during that time, it was accelerated time for them, basically. They lived a lifetime, Same thing here. I think she's kind of conflicted about her feelings. I don't know if they're going to go the route entirely of her completely leaving Tsubasa entirely alone and being with Kijino. Because what I like in this episode is Kijino talking about that he's moving out of the house he was with Miho. He tries to quit his job, but decides to stay eventually when his boss kind of begs him to. and he's trying to like work on himself a little bit, and I like that. He is a bit of a psychopath, as we've seen before, but he seems to be somewhat moving towards a more stable path, right? So they meet up, they're talking, and you know, Tsubasa says, I'm worried about you. He's like, why? He's like, well, I just, you know, with everything going on, and, you know, and he's like, yeah, I know, with Miho being a Juto, I finally accepted it. He goes, yeah. He's like, well, with all that, and with, like, Natsumi and everything being back, I just want to make sure you're okay. I want you to be back to the person that I knew you to be, the really nice guy that we knew you to be. And it's at this point that Natsumi kind of looks at him and looks at him kind of funny and kind of looks away. And the cops come, and he reaches his hand out to Natsumi to come with her. And at this point, Sononi had followed him, and she's watching this. And she shakes her head and turns away from him and doesn't go with them. So he runs off on his own. And Sononi follows him. And Kijino's like, what the fuck? And Natsumi tells him, you know, can we talk a little bit longer? And he's like, sure. So we'll get back to that in a little bit. So after this, we get a cool scene with Taro and Jiro. Jiro's talking about, you know, I'm really happy that I got to come back to the team. I feel really good. And he's like, yeah, you seem normal. He's like, what do you mean normal? He's like, you know, you just feel more put together. You know, before you were kind of uncontrolled, but now I think you have a good grasp on everything. He's like, you know what? That means a lot. He's like, I think my admiration for you grew too strong to the point where part of me wanted to just kill you, when in theory, when in reality, I was more like admired by. You know, I admired you. It was more of an admiration than it was a true like hatred. And he says that it was his admiration of and role model-esque way of he looks at Taro that helped him realize that everything with Rumi and his friends was all imaginary. Helped him finally accept all that, put that away, and made the, you know, combination happen with him and Feral Jiro. And he says that Taro says that, well, I noticed when you had that cooking that you said Rumi made, and then Terasaki made the same thing, that it was the exact same flavors, exact same like taste in general. Everything about it was the same. So I think what must have happened is you must have subconsciously knew how to cook that, made it, and just assumed in your head because of what happened to you in your life that it was Rumi doing it. So they kind of have this nice little back and forth, and I like that. And it almost feels like again, you definitely get a sense in this episode that Taro is somehow leaving or isn't coming back or something, which we get inklings of that in future Haruka's manga, right? So it's possible that's what's going on here. I don't think he's going to die because Taro can't really die, but I do feel like he's preparing everybody to like ascend and like leave and come back when they need him and whatever. So we also get, of course, my boy Minoru comes back to be the 5-time champ Hitotsuki host. I think, or is it 4-time, 5-time? One of the two. He becomes the Osamaki or King Ojuki, whatever it is. He becomes the King Ojo Hitotsuki. He's all talking to his mom. He's like brushing a horse and shit. And she's like, you know, he's like, oh, I'm just so happy. He goes, oh, I hope you are, son. I really would hate for you to have that happen again. You become a monster. He's like, oh, that's behind me. Well, the Naoto trio, Dum Dums, come there, and I think it's Sonoroku. I think Sonoroku. Whatever the girl is in the group, she says, you know, hey, that's the guy who's, you know, many times been a host for the Totsuki. Let's do it again. I think if we all, you know, screw with them with their little darts that they can throw to like piss people off and turn them into Totsuki, that it'll make him one of the strongest ones ever. And so they do that, and it does. He becomes the Osama Sentai King Ojo Hitotsuki. And they instantly try and tell him where to go, like, you know, go defeat the Donbrothers, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, I'm the king. I will decide what I do. And he, like, swats them away. And they're like, what? What's going on? They're so surprised. And he starts, you know, causing chaos and shit. And then we switch back to Natsumi and Kijino at Kijino and Miho's apartment. He's got all his stuff boxed up. He's trying to leave. He's putting the pictures down because he doesn't want her to see it. She picks them up and looks at them. And she's like, you know, what are you doing? He's like, well, I gotta leave. He's like, I agree with Tsubasa. I think I just need to forget everything about Miho and, you know, kind of move on for myself and try to, you know, get, like, living somewhere else. There's too many memories tied to this place. I need to live somewhere else. I need to be elsewhere so that I don't have to keep thinking about her and I can move on. And oddly enough, Natsumi kind of, like, is talking to him about it, and then she, like, hugs him and looks really confused and then runs away. So I don't, again, maybe it'll be awful and she will somehow choose to be with Kijino, which is weird because in the episode preview we see Kijino and Tsubasa working together in like a final battle type situation, so I don't believe that. But anyway, she seems really confused, and I'm kind of digging this. I just want to see where it goes. I know it's just adding some more drama to it. I don't feel like we're gonna get like Jetman level, you know, drama, but it's really interesting to say the least. Oh, excuse me. I'm gonna drink some water. Anyway, so she runs off and Kijino's really confused, whatever. He doesn't look he looks confused, but it doesn't. To me, it didn't come off in a way where he's like, oh, maybe she's really gonna be with me again. It really was like a what the fuck just happened type thing, which I like. That shows Kijino's growth and that he wants to like be proud of himself and his storyline of like being okay with and happy with yourself. That you don't have to depend on someone else or like dote on someone else to be a person. You can be your own person while still doing little snippets of that when you can. So after this, the Totsuki's running wild all over the city, and the trio, the Dum Dum Naoto trio, set up the Oden thing with a bunch more chairs, like 9 chairs for the Donbrothers, all 9 of them now, to meet up and talk. And they say, yeah, we just need your help, blah, blah, blah. Basically, the Totsuki's too strong, and they want them to defeat it for them. Because before this, Sour Brother says, oh, you want to join the team too? And they're like, no, not really. And here comes Minoru. He comes in, he asks for 5 fish cakes, and he like throws them all up, and he eats all 5 of them, because he has a technique, this decoy technique, where he can turn into 5 copies of himself, all the colors of the King Ogres, which is really interesting. Does that, transforms. Everybody else transforms. You get a whole 9-person, Avataro change. Well, not really Avataro change, because the Naoto don't say Avataro change. But they all transform together. They fight. The Dum Dum trio is getting their asses beat, pretty much. And Taro specifically singles out Sonoi and Jiro and says, come on, Sonoi, Jiro, you guys are stronger than this. Let's, come on. This isn't that hard of a challenge. Let's take them out. And they're trying a little bit harder. Jiro's in, one of his forms, either Dorgoku or Torbolt. And Sonoi's in his upgraded form he got from absorbing some of Taro's energy when he was dead. And so Taro, in just normal, not even Omokomachi Phoenix form, is able to, he takes the Zangala sword, taps it on the ground, and it sends out this wave so we can see where all the decoy Osamaki are. And goes through and just Zanglass sword slashes, there we go, all the copies of the Totsuki, defeats it. Doesn't even become big. We don't even get a mecha fight at all, which I think is great. I'm actually kind of happy they did it that way. So they're gone. During this fight, though, we see 2 mysterious figures who we know are Sonona and Sonoya, something like that. Played by the actress who played Yellow Racer and Car Ranger, which I've not seen yet, playing on it. And then also the guy who played Geo Bird, or Bud / Kaisha in Fies. His actor. They're playing 2 more Naoto members again. I don't know why they're adding more to this. I think it's just so they can have the actors have fun with it. I don't know. And they're watching like, oh yes, blah blah blah, that Naoto trio, they're stupid, talking about the Dum Dums, how like they're useless and they're weak and whatever. Totsuki's defeated. The Dum Dum trio run away, of course, again, and they're becoming like Team Rocket at this point. And Minoru's all happy because he's back with his mom and blah blah blah, and he has the crown on still, and she's like, you sure you're okay? He's like, yeah. And he like throws the crown off, and it's interesting because Taro notes when they're at the little Oden cart before they fight, before the Osamaki gets there, the Ototsuki, King Ototsuki gets there, Minoru, he mentions because the Dum Dum trio asked for their help, and he says, why would I do that for 3 strangers? And instantly Jiro and Sonoi kind of look at each other and look at Taro, and I think it's Kijino or somebody's like, what do you mean 3 strangers? They are our enemies. Sonoi says, these aren't 3 strangers, these are our enemies. I like how he says our enemies. Again, I really like them all together as one team. I really, really hope for some point for Sononi, Sonoza, and Sonoi to get their own Donbrothers forms, but I'm okay if they don't. I just think it'd be cool, more of a unification of the team. But anyway, he says, yeah, they're our enemies, and so it's like, how does he not remember? Like, what's going on with his memory, and what's going on, like, what does that mean? So, again, they defeat the Totsuki, and then they, at the end of it, they give him a birthday party. Black Kaito, Master Kaito, told, I think it was Haruka or somebody, about that his birthday was today. He was off by a week. I don't know why he told him that. I'm guessing because Taro's leaving for some reason. And even Taro says, oh, you're a week early, blah, blah, blah. And they still celebrate. And they essentially get him to, they tell him, we know, Haruka says, we know you struggle with understanding what happiness is. I think you understand it now. And he's like, what do you mean? Why do you think that? And she goes, well, I think happiness for you is being with your team, being with this team. I think we've come a long way, and I think being with your team is what makes you happy. And he tries to, stumbles on his words and tries to basically say, no, that's not true. And as soon as he does, he dies because he can't lie. And Any other show, like in any other show, this would be like the super shocking thing, and it'd be like, oh my god. But it's just like normal. So he does it, and Kijino gets like takes his hand and on his wrist and checks his pulse. Goes, he's dead, yay! Because they know he's not lying. That like he's telling, or he's lying, and that really he does appreciate them. We see him smile a little bit when he's unconscious on the ground. So yeah, that was the end of the episode. So altogether, a pretty banger episode. I'm gonna give it honestly probably a straight 9.5 out of 10. Only because I'm saving my perfect score most likely for next week for episode 50, when I'm gonna cry my eyes out when the show's over. But overall, it's a really good episode. I think they did a good job with it. I think that it's clear that he's preparing them for something in terms of them being ready for his departure, wherever that may be to, and whenever that might be. Next week's episode's really like there's a lot of like all these scenes all over the place. Very interesting stuff. It showed Natsumi again talking with Kijino and talking with Tsubasa. So it showed Tsubasa on Kijino's back, like flying, on Kiji Brothers' back and like attacking together. So they must like figure out some resolution there. I don't know. Yeah, and so it's something about like this is our last festival is what the episode's called, something like our last festival. So again, I don't know if Charles is gonna die. I think he is ascending to some other different either form or godhood or just to some other realm. He has to leave them for some reason. I don't know. I for some reason I didn't see Master Kaito in it, so that's interesting. But again, still I'm really excited for the episode and what it's going to bring. But overall, this episode was really, really great. Love the character interactions, love the jokes, love the little thing with Sononi where you could barely see like the top of her head. She tries to get closer to Tsubasa. And just having Minoru again as the Hitotsuki was awesome. Having him close it out as the 50th Hitotsuki, is amazing. Or I think the 50th, whatever the normal amount of Hitotsukis we've had. Is really great, and so I really, really enjoyed it. I think it was a really great episode. But let me know in the comments below what you guys thought. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Were you in the middle? Are you just as absolutely distraught and depressed as I am that it ends next week? Yeah, let me know. I like to see the conversation going. I don't get comments in every single video, but some of them I do, and a little conversation going here and there. But thank you for watching today, for sharing, liking, commenting if you can, subscribing. This week on the podcast, I'm not 100% sure who the guest is going to be. I'm going to attempt at maybe getting Immortal Red Fox on there, the guy behind that. Talking to him through Twitter DMs and stuff like that, see if he can be our guest, talk about some indie tokusatsu stuff on Friday. But yeah, so that's going to be the plan for that. But until next time, stay hooked on them heroes. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.